What's good, y'all? Master Yoshi here, and I'm coming at y'all with a special one today. I'm giving away all my secrets as to how I get high quality audio and visual for all of my motovlogs. Drop the beat. All right, y'all, before we get started, this is my 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I'm giving away knowledge. As the old saying goes, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So I hope y'all can appreciate everything I'm telling y'all, because it took me a while to get the quality that I got today. All right, y'all, so this video is going to be pretty lengthy, but everything is going to be segmented from the gear that I have to the settings that I put it on, all the way to how I color grade the footage and end up giving y'all the final polished product. So hopefully you can get something from this that you need, but it's definitely going to be very thorough. So I hope y'all appreciate it. All right, y'all, first off, we're going to start off with all the video equipment. All right, y'all, what I have before you today is the GoPro Hero 7. I have the little case that it comes with. I have the GoPro helmet mount that I've constructed. I got a big old box of goodies, and this is very important. But even more important, I feel, are some neutral density filters. Basically what these things are is they act as sunglasses for your GoPros. And when we get into the settings, I'll show you why they're important. Now within this box of goodies, there is a bunch of GoPro accessories, mounts, clips, and all that good stuff. And I say you need this because depending on your helmet, you don't know what you're going to need to be able to build the perfect mount for the perfect point of view. And of course, I'll have links in the description to everything I bought. I ain't gonna get paid for none of this, but I'm trying to help y'all out. Now, when it comes to mounting your GoPro to your helmet, do not start with just mounting this piece on your helmet and going from there. I recommend that you reverse engineer it because the position of your GoPro is extremely important. A lot of people you'll see, they'll just have their GoPro somewhere in this area. This to me does not give you the greatest viewpoint because you're either going to have it nice and straight like this, and what you're going to see is a lot of the street and a lot of movement, but you're not going to see very much bike. Or it'll be here and they'll angle it down and you'll see too much bike, too much handlebars, too much of the windscreen, and not enough of the road, and it just feels like you're looking down. So it's very important, in my opinion, to have that balance of bike and the scenery, because you want something still juxtaposed against all the movement that you see. Y'all like that right there? Juxtaposed. Look that up if you don't know what that means. But basically, it means you want something still versus all the movement. That way, it gives you that feeling of movement. So in order to get that, I say you need to have your GoPro about down here. This way you can see your arms, you can see a lot of the handlebar movement, and yet you'll still be able to see everything out in front of you, giving you that great feeling of movement. So again, I recommend that you reverse engineer your mount with the end position in mind. And again, you also want to realize that the GoPro lens is not centered on the GoPro. And if you want that centered view, you're gonna have to keep that in mind when you're lining it up. And having your ND filter on kind of helps with that, just because it's bigger and easier to see the center. So this is roughly the position that I keep my GoPro in. It's nice and low. It's going to get my arms in there. And I reverse engineered it, starting with this here, figuring out what anchor mounts I'm going to need, and then attaching it to the helmet after I was able to use the least amount of arms and brackets as I could. That way there's less weight and less movement on the helmet. Now when you mount this on, as you can see, this helmet has curves and it's convex and concave in different areas. So in order to get a nice bond, You can see there's raised levels of some 3M adhesive, double-sided adhesive in here, because when you just use the regular GoPro mount, it is not going to make enough contact with the helmet to be on nice and secure. So in addition to the 3M double-sided tape that comes with your GoPro, you are also going to need some extra 3M extreme mounting tape. So now let's get into the settings of this GoPro. First off, I like to shoot in 4K 24 FPS, 24 frames per second. Now through the research I did, they say that 24 FPS gives you the most natural looking motion blur. Now I'm going to play y'all two different clips from 4K 24 FPS and 2K 60 FPS. Now some people were feeling like that 2K 60 FPS was looking clearer, and it kind of does, because that 60 frames per second does make it look a lot more clear. But at the same time, the motion blur effect is a lot less, and it feels like you're moving a lot slower. So, and for me personally, I don't ride very fast. So in order to keep my footage entertaining and visually appealing, I need all that extra motion blur. Well, not extra motion blur, that natural motion blur, so you can feel like you're along with that ride with me. Okay, so going through my settings, I got 4K 24 FPS. The field of view is super view. This gives you the widest view angle possible, picking up as much as you can. Stabilization, we like it on auto. You got to turn your Pro Tune on, and my shutter speed is 1/48. Now, without knowing too much about cameras, the shutter speed is basically how much light is allowed in. So the lower the number, the more light comes in, I believe. Let's test that out. So here it is at 1/48. Now if we go all the way to 1/384, you can see that it's darker. Oh. So going to 1/48, this is why your ND filters are so important, because this is going to allow a lot of light in, and it's going to blow your image out. It's going to be too bright for any details, which is why you need ND filters. These ND filters, like I said, they act as sunglasses. Man, can't get this autofocus to work. They act as sunglasses. So that means you can match your shutter speed to the appropriate FPS. Now, the film rule of thumb is to set your shutter speed 2 times greater than your FPS. So you can see my FPS is 24 and my shutter speed is 48. That is also going to attribute to that nice, smooth, realistic motion blur. Moving on, I have my white balance set to 5500 Kelvin. Now I never adjust this, but the rule of thumb is this is how you match this with the type of lighting you're in. This 5500 Kelvin is what it's like on a typical sunny day. But I always leave it the same, no matter if it's cloudy out or not. I probably should have put that a little often, but I don't. My ISO min, I keep that at 100. My ISO max, I keep that at 400. And the sharpness, I keep that on low. You can add sharpness in post editing, but you cannot take it away. Color, I like to leave it on flat because I'll color grade it myself, and I prefer to pick the colors more than I want GoPro to pick the colors for me. So with the ND filter that I need for that 1/48, since it allows so much light in, that shutter speed, I like to use the ND32 as my filter. Now this says for GoPro 5, but of course this works on my 7. I believe it'll work on the 8, but I'm not sure about the latest 9. But there will be, I'm pretty sure there will be ND filters available for the latest GoPro. But again, 32 is the highest strength that you need for that 1/48 shutter speed. All right, so I recommend getting an ND filter kit. The kit comes with the mount that attaches to the GoPro, and you screw in each lens as such. Then mount it on the GoPro. Now they go in different strengths: 32, 16, 8, and 2. Of course, that's from strongest to lightest. This will block the most light coming in. This will block the least. And so on cloudy applications, or if it's not very bright out, I'll use either the 16 or the 8, depending on whichever gives me the best picture. I also say it's highly important every time you're about to vlog to check your footage before you start recording. By that I mean download the GoPro app, set it up on your phone, so that way you can see which way your camera is positioned before you hit record. That way you're giving yourself the best chance to get some great footage. There's been many vlogs where I've been lazy and I didn't do that, and the footage is just unusable. Now let's talk about audio. Now I'm sure if any of you have tried anything with GoPro, you've probably heard of the GoPro mic adapter. At one point those things were sold out and you couldn't find them anywhere. And I was so glad that them things were sold out, because that forced me to improvise with going with a separate audio recorder. And along with this standalone audio recorder, I also use the Purple Panda mic. And I've got this extra big windscreen from my Senna to help muffle some of the wind noise. And this here is just Velcro so that I can attach it to my helmet whenever I need to, take it out whenever I don't need it. Now usually I have my vents taped off, but it was getting loose, so I had to add another piece in. But yes, you definitely want to tape these off, because it'll definitely minimize your wind noise. Now I know some people say your helmet does not matter, but I have found that to be untrue. My old helmet was a lot more quiet when it came to picking up wind noise in my MOTOVLOGs. The difference between the helmets, I'm not sure, but it was definitely more quiet. But either way, this is still going to make your audio a lot more tolerable than it would if you wasn't using your standalone audio recorder. All right, y'all, so let's talk about the settings that I have in my separate audio recorder. So let's go to menu, recorder settings. The format, I have it in that WAV 16-bit, sample 48. Now this is going to be different, of course, depending on whatever audio recorder you get. I'm not sure if they still sell this one, but you'll be able to find similar settings regardless of what you get. I'll just let y'all read through these. Now the low cut, if you know anything about audio, that means it's not really going to pick up too many notes below 120 hertz, which are your bass notes. This right here is the most important, your level. That is how low, how basically non-sensitive it is. That means that it is not picking up a lot of noise. It'll only pick up noise if it's loud and close to the mic, pretty much. That's the way you can think of it. So this is how you minimize all of the wind noise, because if you have this set high, it's going to pick up everything. Having your level set so low, it makes it quiet. It basically limits how much noise is getting in through your microphone. I have this set extremely low, which helps eliminate most of the wind noise, and it also allows me to speak with this microphone right near my mouth without blowing or having it clip. Now, since I have this so low, in a lot of my videos, my exhaust sounds pretty quiet. In order to remedy that, I have a second audio recorder, which I'm actually using right now to record my voice. And I actually throw this in the trunk of my bike, so that way it can pick up the exhaust notes. So in videos in which I'm talking and then I switch to just writing, it's very easy to just turn up that exhaust noise, and I can lower in post editing. I can just mute this track and use all the audio from my other audio recorder and just turn up my exhaust noise. And with that, I can either have it to where there's absolutely no wind noise, because no wind noise comes in through the trunk. I can have it to where there's no wind noise, but in order to keep a sense of movement, I'll use a little bit of audio from this one, so that way there's some wind noise in there, giving you that feeling or that sensation of the speed that I'm traveling. And if you notice on this one here, you see I have this adapter. That is because the specific audio recorders that I use, they use 2-ring microphones. And as you can see, this is a 3-ring microphone. 1, 2, 3 black lines. So I plug it into that converter and it makes it only have 2 of these black lines, allowing it to pick up that audio. Just food for thought in case you can't figure out why your mic isn't working if you get an audio recorder. So where do I keep this if I don't need to mount it to my helmet? Well, I usually put it on my inside jacket pocket, and I'll just snake the wire from the microphone out from behind my jacket and have my microphone just plugged into the helmet. Now that's great because if you ain't motovlogging, you don't need it. You just snatch the microphone out, throw this in the backpack or whatever you got that day, and it's out of sight, out of mind. You don't have to worry about attaching anything extra to the helmet like you do when you go the GoPro mic adapter route. All right, y'all, so I've brought you into my video editing software. I use Sony Vegas Pro 16. Now, if you are like I and you are frugal and you don't like paying top dollar for stuff, there's some great discounts out there, if you know what I mean, to get Sony Vegas. Just Google it. All right, so anyways, as I was talking about earlier, you can see I have my audio into different tracks. This right here is the audio and visual for the GoPro. I have the GoPro turned down because, as you can imagine, GoPro audio is going to be pretty much all wind noise. Now this is my voice audio track, this one here, and down below is my exhaust audio. And as you can see, with voice audio, with just exhaust audio, there's absolutely no wind noise. Now, as far as color grading goes, I already have this nice and color graded for you. Now, this is going to differ between different programs, but the procedure is pretty much the same. You're going to have to just do it to where it looks good to your eye. What I think looks good might not look good to you. So we're gonna go to our man. I cannot believe I've recorded all that and it didn't even come up right. So I was all in my settings, but nothing was coming up for some reason. Okay, so if you remember, we pretty much set the GoPro to where a lot of the color wouldn't come through. We set the GoPro pretty basic. Let me get this over here. And so now we need to come in and add and color correct to where we get the film looking how we want. So when the GoPro footage came in, this is what it looks like. Very muted, very bland, very unsaturated. So the biggest ones you need is you'll need to adjust your saturation. As you can see, I haven't done much. These values are usually at 0, but here's the difference from saturated and unsaturated. I also like to use color corrector. It's basically, here's on and off. You probably can't tell much with the video, but that's what these do. Helps get those different hues in here. Brightness and contrast. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. You're not gonna be able to tell that much of a difference. And this hit film vibrance. That makes a big difference. This is a Sony Vegas thing. Not sure what other programs have something similar, but really, this is all about playing around and getting the footage to look the way you think looks best. I wish I could have showed y'all a better example screen recording, but for some reason, it won't screen record this menu. It'll just screen record everything behind it. But thank y'all for tuning in, man. I hope some of this stuff helped y'all. Hopefully y'all can get some great footage. If you got any questions, please let me know. Y'all stay blessed. Don't be too stressed. Master Yoshi out. Peace.